What if I told you that if you live in the United States of America, statistically, you can have your rights taken away from you? They can completely legally disallow and completely ignore your rights as an American citizen. You're part of the 2/3 of the United States American citizens that live in the border zone. They can completely ignore your rights. They can ignore your Fourth Amendment rights and your Fifth Amendment rights, and most arguably your human rights. I'll be talking about the border zone. I'll be talking about just how awful, just how honestly otherworldly it is. How it seems like something out of genuinely out of Nazi Germany, as well as a few stories about it from actual people that have lived through it. First of all, with more border enforcement, there's been a massive humanitarian crisis of deaths related to crossing the border, as well as more rights violations by these agents. First, let me talk about where it even is. 100 miles from every border of the entire continental United States of America, including Alaska and Hawaii, that is in the border zone. So right here, almost 2/3 of every person in the United States of America lives there. Until there's 10 of the largest cities in the United States of America, including Chicago, LA, New York City. And some states are completely in it. Some states, the entirety of that state is in the border zone, like Florida and like some others. It already sounds concerning, but what gets worse is how they themselves describe it. Members of the Customs and Border Patrols, or CBP, can board a bus or train without a warrant anywhere along the border zone. Anywhere. They don't need a warrant to do this. And senior members of this, they claim the Border Patrol to be a paramilitary organization that operates outside of constitutional constraints, as well as the fact that they routinely reject outside oversight. They themselves say that they are a paramilitary organization, and they refuse to have outside forces look in, because they know just how bad they are. They can set up checkpoints around anywhere along the border zone, anywhere, and they obviously include a seizure of innocent motorists without even suspicion of anything. No probable cause, no nothing. It's impossible to even really keep or reconcile your Fourth Amendment rights, because also most of these people don't even know what they are. They don't know what they have and what they don't, because Border Patrol operates on a fairly different metric. Especially with these routine checkpoints, they can just completely ignore it. They ignore their limits of authority routinely. They do that shit religiously, as well as participate in widespread civil rights violations such as racially profiling, unlawful searches, excessive use of force, and yes, prolonged detention, keeping you locked up with no real reasons and no real evidence, just because they can. The story of this lady named Clarissa Christensen in May 2013, when these officers stopped Miss Christensen and her two young children without probable cause on their way from school. They were just trying to drive home from school. And they stopped them. She demanded explanation. You know what they did? They threatened to tase her, and they threatened to cut her out of her seatbelt with a knife. They threatened to rip her out of her seat. Literally, rip her out of her seat. And they also slashed her rear tire and left her and her children stranded on a hot desert road. And not even just that, they also repeatedly trespassed onto her private property with goddamn helicopters. They had these helicopters hover over her house at very low altitudes, causing extremely loud, deafening even sounds, flashing bright lights. A quote from someone named David Loy, he's a legal director for the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial counties, who once said, "These roving stops have a very high potential for abuse, Border Patrol agents have a great deal of authority and discretion. And in practice, it's really easy for them to abuse the discretion by stopping a driver based on appearances alone. Then, finding facts to fit the arrest after the fact. They can pull over the most arbitrary, stupid things, such as not looking at agents who pulled up along beside the car, or speeding or slowing down abruptly, or one of the best ones, sitting upwards rigidly in your seat. Sitting upwards rigidly in your seat can be enough for them to stop you. Sitting in your goddamn seat upright, just having good posture, is considered a cause. Or driving towards Los Angeles, or acting nervous in the presence of one of the pigs. Oh, sorry, not the pigs. In presence of a Border Patrol agent. Oh, it's getting confused sometimes. And they profile on the basis of race a lot, and they are completely allowed to. They are literally allowed to profile you based on your race. They're literally allowed to, and it's a very common thing. Hiram Soto, communications director for Alliance San Diego, he said that the reality for many people, especially many brown or Mexican people in communities full of lots of immigrants, is the racial profiling. It's just a part of life. If you're in San Diego, it's just a part of your life in general, he said. It says racial profiling is as normal as the sky being blue. It's as normal as there being trees. It's as normal as children going to school. It's as normal as 33% of the adult male black population being a felon unable to vote. It's as normal as separate water fountains. It's just a part of life. A quote from him is, racial profiling is a reality. It happens all the time, especially in border communities like ours, which is highly marginalized. It's not even a secret. A great story that I found, well, not great, but gets his point across well, is one that I'll put on the screen right now. It details just how loosely they can pull you over, just how big of a stretch they can put, just how loose of evidence, how weak of evidence they can use, citing things such as trying to get a little bit away from the police. Or Border Patrol. I'd see them. If I was living there, I would also probably want to be away from them. Or if I got pulled over, I might not want to look at them because I'd be scared. I would be scared out of my life. The first time I had a cop follow me was one of the scariest moments of my entire life because I wasn't sure if I was going to live or die. And we're going to say that this is cause for him or for this person to maybe be an illegal immigrant on this alone. As well as saying because the car was registered in LA, that's cause for suspicion? Or because he was sitting upright? What is this? What is this? How is this not blatant racial profiling? Doing the most flagrant abuses of our rights under the most baseless assumptions and most racist assumptions at that. And when we ask them what specifically are their reasons, they don't give it to us. People try to ask. They refuse to elaborate. They refuse to say what it is because, it could let people know their tricks or whatever. So they can do basically whatever they want. We as U.S. citizens simply do not know why we are being stopped and questioned because the agency simply will not tell us. They will not tell us. What is it? Is it that we have Mexican-looking haircuts, as some have said? Is it because we're having rigid backs sitting in a goddamn seat? Is it because or is it really just because we have brown skin and a Hispanic accent? And we don't even know how many U.S. citizens are being stopped because the agency doesn't keep record of them. They don't keep records of those who they don't arrest. They don't keep records of the race of these people. And if they did, I would bet good money that almost all of them are Hispanic or Latino. I believe throughout this, I've shown just how awful the border zone is, just how flagrantly they ignore our protections as U.S. citizens, as people, honestly. They ignore our human dignities and human rights completely legally. But I'll leave it first, but I'll end this now on from a quote with someone who works a lot at the ASRU. She's a border litigation project staff attorney. Her name is Maitra Abdulhai. Abdulhai. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. I'll link her in the description. She said, "It's not just that Border Patrol seems unable or unwilling to articulate the reasons they stop and question people. It's that this agency seems to think anything can be a legit reason. So not only is the Border Patrol unwilling to tell members of the public what we need to know to assess whether the agency is acting legally, in addition, the agency's position seems to be whatever we decide to do is fine, which is a real threat to community safety, accountability, and transparency. They can cite me for whatever reasons they deem fit, because in their eyes, whatever reasons they decide are good reasons. It doesn't matter if it's because you're driving to LA, or that you're not looking at them, or it's because you have a Mexican-looking haircut. These reasons they're all equally important in the eyes of the Border Patrol officers. And this simply cannot stand. We cannot let this stand. We cannot let this racial profiling persist in the year 2023, almost 2024, and we're still having this go on. We can't. I know people in Texas, and they're Mexican. I can't even imagine what they're going through living there every day of their life. I hope you stay safe down there, Melanie. And I hope you all have learned something, and I hope you all now have a new understanding, a new perspective of what border patrolling really means. Is it really patrolling the borders or illegal immigrants? Or is it patrolling U.S. citizens and patrolling people who are Latino and Latina?